Tien, I'll throw you a hot potato right away. You mentioned you worked in the DA's office, and really in the last 24 hours as we taped this, the DA in Atlanta has decided not to seek the death penalty against the officer who shot and killed someone outside of Wendy's. What is your thought and your take on this whole situation?
So the Rayshard Brooks situation is very emotional, and I would hope it's emotional for anyone who has seen the video, regardless of what your religious views are, your political views are, your social views. It's an emotional situation. Anytime you see someone die or lose their life on video, whether it be at the hands of another civilian or at the hands of law enforcement. In this case, I think that a lot of people have mixed emotions because there have been several incidents of police brutality where you see tasers involved or other weapons involved. And from what I've been seeing based on social media and just concerns that regular, everyday, ordinary citizens have, many people are wondering, why is a taser considered a deadly weapon when it was in the hands of Rayshard Brooks versus when it was in the hands of the police officer? Because when officers draw their tasers, it's considered a use of non-deadly force. And so this is going to be a hot topic issue for months to come. I'm curious to see how a jury is going to come back with the verdict, because there is a lot of gray area when it comes to the legal issues in this case. A taser can be considered a deadly weapon depending on the situation. And we'll never know, obviously, whether or not Rayshard Brooks would have been charged for his actions because he didn't live to tell his side of the story. But I think that the Atlanta prosecutor definitely, or hopefully, talked to a lot of educated attorneys before making the decision to charge the officer. But I think that America, and more specifically the citizens of Atlanta, will get to tell us what they feel is best for the situation based on how they come back with the verdict.
Vic, do you have some thoughts as well in what's going on and transpired in the last week or so?
Well, I think from a legal perspective, the prosecutor is going to have a very difficult bit of work ahead of him. There is law that authorizes the police officer to use deadly force under the circumstances that occurred. It will be a very fact-based prosecution, and having the video is tremendously helpful, not only to the prosecution, but to the defense. There were forcible felonies being committed by Mr. Brooks. However, it appears that the commission of the forcible felonies had ceased prior to the shooting. And at the very least, I think there's going to be huge civil responsibility for the death of Mr. Brooks. In criminal prosecutions, the burden of proof is beyond a reasonable doubt. In a civil litigation for wrongful death, it's by the greater weight of the evidence. In a civil prosecution, I think the Atlanta Police Department will probably have a difficult time explaining the training the officer had with regard to use of force. I talked with Sean Merzlak, who also was a police officer for a number of years, and he explained to me, as part of policy and procedures, police officers are trained that in the event that there's being a forcible felony committed, they're to use deadly force and shoot the mass of the body and not shoot to wound. That might be a topic for systemic change within police departments, especially in light of the peculiar circumstances of this case. It's going to play out, but I would really encourage both sides to let the judicial system work. Let it work in the eyes of 12 impartial jurors to decide what actually occurred and what the law is that applied to those individual facts, and let justice be done. Back up. Let those who are professionals in the legal field play this out, change laws as necessary down the line, and let a jury of 12 decide what should be done.